Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We might have a little bit of an echo, but I think the aesthetic background definitely makes up for it. Now, we need to talk about what is currently going on with AMC. Go over the Ortex data, the Stonko tracker data, address these rumors in which I understand it were not necessarily about AMC, but it dropped the stock 10% and has been the single factor AMC has been falling off of a cliff. So I think it's important to not acknowledge that or give it credit, but to look down the line when the actual rumor in the marketplace that this is not a problem with AMC gets rebutted. What is on the back end of that? Does it look like a rally? Does it look like a drop? I think those are very important things to talk about, and that's what we are going to get into here in this video, guys. Literally everything you need to know will be provided to you in this video, and the only thing that I ask, check this out, is you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. I think that is pretty fair deal, especially there's no inflation on it, right? It costs you free 99 to do so for that. Now, enough of that, let's get straight into this video, guys. So what we have seen over the past week, we're going to address the rumor situation first. Yes, there was articles coming out and completely destroyed this stock. And let's just be 100% clear on what day this was. This was on December 6th. You got these articles coming out. The stock dropped about 10%, or December 7th, sorry. The stock dropped about 10.37% that day on almost double the volume that we have been seeing as of recently. The volume's been around that 30 million mark here on December 7th. It was about 50% higher, sitting a little bit over 40 million shares from what I can see here. And essentially, if you guys are unfamiliar of what happened, there was lenders that are organizing against AMC Networks, not AMC Entertainment. But what essentially happened is the algos, they heard AMC and they started to short AMC very aggressively intraday when this actually came out. And we could show you guys the 5-minute chart on December 7th. It was not a bad day to start the day. We actually ripped up in the beginning of the day. And then once this news came out, that's where things got really bad in a very short amount of time. And this looks like a classic short and distort to me. You put out something that is directed to another company, but implies that it could be for AMC as well, basically distorting, how markets are perceiving the information. It's not like you're directly lying, but it's not like you're rebuttaling the situation, right? Just like if a rumor came out about Apple, whoever put that rumor out is probably going to be pretty quick to rebuttal that, or a fake news story or something along those lines, right? That obviously did not happen with AMC, and what we've seen since then is actually interesting. The stock, for one, has been falling every day since then by a pretty big clip, but you're actually seeing all of a sudden millions of shares that are available to be sold short. Some days you're looking at 2 million shares. Other days you're looking at about 1 million shares. But either way you put it, it's a lot of shares that came out of thin air. And the biggest thing that this has really done, this whole rumor situation, I don't even know what to call it. It's a weird situation. Is the cost to borrow rates have been falling, so it's easier for shorts to actually stay in those short positions when they're essentially revolving lines of credit on their short positions. Their cost to borrow rates, their interest rates go down. It makes it a lot easier to remain in those short positions, especially when liquidity is starting to be constrained. A lot of it has to do with the crypto industry, meme stocks and hedge funds, right? Betting against quote unquote meme stocks, retail stocks, and crypto. There was a lot of shady shit that went on there. FTX alone was doing some shady shit, and you have seen AMC, it was rallying ever since the day FTX went bankrupt. Go figure there, until this report did start to come out. So personally, on the backside of this, it could be a little bit of time, guys. And that's one thing I want to stress to you guys. Once we get to this next earnings, which will be hopefully sometime in January, right? Probably middle of the month, January, you're going to get Q4 earnings. And I think those Q4 earnings will really push back on this whole narrative of lenders organizing against AMC, AMC's liquidity problems. I think it's very possible that they do post a free cash flow and actually a profit if they can have their expenses in line. And I think that is very possible if Avatar 2 is as big of a hit as it looks like it is going to be, which comes out December 16th. Overall, you're seeing strong fundamentals with AMC, so I'm not even sure exactly why this is a question or why trading algorithms sold the stock off so aggressively when this news came out about AMC Networks. It kind of just makes zero sense, guys. So there is that information. Not too much we could do about it right now except make these kind of videos, spread the actual information. Hopefully that translates into AMC and the stock reacting accordingly, but we'll wait and see with all of that. Now, the cost to borrow rate's currently sitting at about 21.59%. Last we knew there was about 1.3 million shares that were available to be sold short, so keep that in mind. Lots of shares available to be sold short. Cost to borrow rate still over 20% is very high, but it's a lot smaller than where we were seeing cost to borrow rates in the 40, 45, 50, 60, 70, 100% range, right? We're not going to go down the whole list, but over 100% some days. And now you're down massively in those cost to borrow rates. I think that's the biggest factor that is helping the hedge funds right now, is getting those cost to borrow rates down and then flooding the markets with shares available to be sold short. Nonetheless, we got to get off that topic, but I could sit here and talk probably an hour about that situation alone. Now, the cost to borrow average sitting at 23.45%, cost to borrow max at 29.56%, and cost to borrow minimum at 21.09%. A live short interest reading of 20.11%, an increase of about 1% here today. The amount of shares currently sold short sits at almost 104 million, up about 934.2 thousand shares here today. So the short interest continues to rise, even though it looks like it went down from the official reports. The official report came out yesterday for the settlement date of November 30th, and it looks like the short interest was around 19.5%, roughly where we have been for a majority of 2022. So, you know, in the grand scope of 2022, you're not higher than we have been as far as the exchange is reporting to us. We know it's a lot higher than that. We know the tailwind factors to AMC. We know all these things. So granted, this is only the data I can provide to you. We can go into why the short interest is higher than what it really is if you guys want in another video. But these are the numbers that we are currently getting. So let's go ahead and now talk about the Stonko tracker data and then get into the technicals, guys. And what we've seen this week was very, very rare. Only 303 calls that expired in the money. 303, not 303,000, 303. That like never happens when you have 138,000 calls that are out of the money. Typically does not happen. If you look for next week, you have about 1,400 calls that are currently in the money and 211,000 calls that are out of the money. This is a massive ratio compared to in the money compared to out of the money. And that just means if you do see a move to the upside, there's probably going to be a lot of calls that go into the money in a very quick fashion, and that could lead to a lot of that upside hedging, guys. So there is that. As far as what came out today, you did have Michigan Consumer Sentiments, the survey that came out, as well as PPI, and that is wholesale prices. And I'm sure you guys already know, but when businesses see their cost going up, they tend to pass that on to consumers. And those are really the two big factors of inflation besides the government, right? All inflation always will go back to Federal Reserve policy. It always has throughout history. But factors that are continuing to lead to inflation is the wholesale prices, manufacturing inflation, like when the price of oil was high, plastics, transporting anything, literally any business in the world is affected by the price of oil. We have since seen that come down, but you're still seeing those lingering effects that made wholesale prices rise 0.3% in November, more than expected, despite hopes that inflation is cooling. So there was that factor on the day. and we're talking for Friday, just so we are all are clear. And then you did have the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey that came out today, which was very mixed from what people and investors are taking out of this. It definitely looks mixed, and it does say the confidence index rose to 59.1 in December versus 53.3 expected. So on one hand, consumers are feeling pretty good about the economy, right? Not nearly as good as where it has been in the past, but a lot better than expectations. And you are also seeing year ahead inflation expectations improved considerably, but remained relatively high, falling from 4.9% to 4.6% in December, the lowest reading in 15 months, but still well above 2 years ago. So it's one of those things that highlighted, the inflation expectations are coming down, but they are still well higher than where they should be and well higher than the 2% Fed mandated inflation rate, guys. So there is all of that information. If we go ahead and take a look at AMC on a technical basis, we're right in the middle of the 50-day moving average to the upside and about that $5.70 level, to the downside. So I really want to watch starting the week what happens if we come down to this level and potentially hold support. I believe it's actually, around $5.45 per share. Roughly, if we hold this line right here with support, or if we can make our way back to the upside to that 50-day moving average and actually break out above that. Now, I think a lot of next week will depend on the Fed and what the Fed has to say, because you do have the Fed on Wednesday, but you have CPI on Tuesday. So you're really only going to have Monday for positioning, and where you don't have a lot of data, right? Everyone on Monday is going to be positioning for Tuesday's inflation report and then following Fed Jerome Powell. So I think Monday could be a slightly up day, slightly down day. I don't really expect anything too crazy because the craziness will be happening throughout the rest of next week. So as you guys know, Fed Jerome Powell CPI can get a little bit crazy, and you're probably going to see a big move to the upside or a big move to the downside. I doubt it's going to be a flat or uneventful week in this next upcoming week, guys. So I have rambled on enough. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, source your comments, questions, or concerns down below in the comment section. Most importantly, enjoy the rest of your days, your weekends, and I will see you in the next one.